Hey YouTube, how you guys doing today? Kevin here, coming back at you with another video. Okay, so let's just snap right into it. Of course, you can see I got you guys on the tripod. I got my tripod back. So very happy about that. And you can see right here on these two beautiful looking paper plates. They are not designer paper plates, guys. I'm cheap. These these two paper plates are two Mikuni carburetors. This one right here, see if you guys can see it or not, is for the MC1, I'm sorry, the MT1 and the kv75. And then you have the sister to it, which is a much bigger carburetor, as you can see, is off of the ke100 and the MC1 and the KM and the KD. This is the newer style. Now, these are both Mikuni carburetors, and they have a lot in common. Like, for instance, the choke is on the same side, you know, that sort of thing. The fuel inlet is in the same place. A lot of the same stuff, okay? In fact, you can almost see the kind of the same porting, you know? You can almost see the same kind of stuff to it, you know what I mean? You can see on the side here, it's got the same block-offs and all that type of stuff, figuratively speaking. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is I do a lot of carb talk videos, and I have not done one on the kv75. And a lot of times people look at my other videos to check for references and stuff. And on this channel, we're a learning channel, and we like to do things. So, what I decided to do is do a little bit of a comparison, but I'm going to give you guys some specifications on the MT1 and the kv75 carbs. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to take the bowls off and take a look at the guts, the internals. We'll start with the MT1. You call it an MC, it's not an MC. And I got the two paper plates to keep the two carburetors separate. Hopefully we don't rip the gasket. That would stink. Okay. So there we have the internals of the carburetor. We have your float. We have your main jet right here. We have your pilot jet. And we have your choke pickup. Okay? So that's what those are. Now we'll take apart the carburetor from the KE100. KD, KM, MC1, KV100. Now you're going to laugh at this, but it's true. This carburetor right here is the same one used on the KV100. So you have your KV100 carb and your KV75. Two totally different engines, but same family. That's why we do what we do on this channel. Because we cross a lot of stuff over, and I wanted to show you guys. A lot of people looking at my videos going, well, that should be about the same. Well, yes and no. There's some variables, there's some differences, that sort of thing. Okay. Alright, so now in comparison, you have the same thing. Your main jet here, your pilot jet here, and your choke pickup right there. So now I'm going to put the two together. Look at that. Father and son, mother and daughter, same thing. Just this one's smaller, this one's bigger. Okay? But there are a few other differences on them. I don't know if you can see it or not, so I'm going to try to do this so you can see it. Hold on. 1 second. Okay, probably not. The needle and seat on this one is at an angle. The needle and seat on this one is straight up and down. So those are a different, and they require a different type of adjustment. So we're going to get into that all in just a second. So you're probably wondering what I used to clean this carburetor. Looks pretty. And this one here doesn't look that bad either. This one here had a lot of gunk in there. Okay. I'm going to show you guys what I use to clean these carburetors with. I use my ultrasonic cleaner that you see in the videos, that I have earlier videos. But my ultrasonic cleaner right now is put away for the winter. So I'm using a different type of cleaner, and I'm going to show you what I use. Okay, this is what I use. This right here is gunk. It's carburetor parts cleaner right here. And it's basically in a gallon container. And let's see, I'll go a little closer to you. Alright, when you open up the top, let's just pop the top. This is not just carburetor cleaner, you can use it for parts cleaning. Okay, the stuff is pretty thick. And all the crap tends to float to the top. And it comes with this nice little catch tray right here. And you can see the holes inside of it. So the stuff can, go in there and just let the stuff soak. And then you can easily pull this out. Okay, so that's typically what I let them sit in right there. And then once they come out of that, then I like to wash them down with some high pressure carburetor cleaner. This is gunk out. Oh, they're all the same. They work pretty well. Once again, I am not, sponsored by either one of these. So, as a, as a mechanic, I use them both. And I even use the Walmart branded carburetor cleaner. Just be careful with the Walmart carburetor cleaner if you try to start an engine with it, because some people like to do that. It's non-flammable. As I found out the hard way. Alright, so we're going to get into it. So I wanted to show you guys a comparison on the two carburetors. They look the same. They have a lot of the same stuff. Like, for instance, the air intakes in the front here. Okay, you have to make sure those are clean, or your carburetor will not run right. These allow air to get into the bowl. They allow air to pick up in the stream and go through the needle mixture screw. Alright, now, a gentleman was asking what is the difference between the idle speed screw and the idle mixture screw. Now, this one right here, the very first one, we got my screwdriver here. This adjustment right here, this screw, is your idle speed screw. This moves the slide up and down, okay, for your adjustment. On the KE100, here's the KE100 carb right here. It's on the very top. So here's your cable goes in here. This screw right here is your up and down for your throttle adjustment. See, idle speed screws on top on the KE and or the KV100, and the kv75 mt1. It's on the side right here. This screw right here is your idle speed screw. Okay, and not speed screw. The idle mixture screw. Okay, and that right there is set to 1.5 turns out. So you screw it all the way in. See if I can find a little screwdriver here. Oh, that'll work. Not what I wanted, but it'll work. So we're going to screw this all the way in until it just seats. Okay, until it just seats. Once it just seats, we find a screwdriver that actually works. So I don't know if I have one down here. Oh, this way here will work. If I can get it out. I can. Good. Alright. So this screw right here is going to be set all the way in till it just stops. Don't force it till it just stops. So we're going to go 1.5 out. So half, 1.5. That's the idle mixture speed, the idle mixture screw, not the speed screw. This right here changes and lowers the RPM. This one right here changes and lowers the RPM and the mixture of the fuel. It does it by the mixture. So keep that in mind. Now, by adjusting the idle speed screw right here, you're going to move your slide up and down, and it's going to change the fixed idle speed. Okay? Other than that, they're the same. In the bowl, same thing. You have your, sorry, I'm just trying to figure this whole, how I got the tripod set up. This is your pickup right here for your choke, and there's the main jet for it right there. So you're going to spray your carburetor cleaner in here, and you should see it come out through this hole here. This has a unique drain on it, Basically, you push the drain in, and the fuel will come from the bowl. It'll drain out of the bowl and out through this little tube here, out on the ground. You can actually put the same system right here. If you want to put a drain on your KE or your kv100, you can put that setup on these bowls. In fact, it'll go right in that hole right there, and then you'll be able to drain it. So, or actually, you're going to put it on the bank. I'm sorry. You're going to put that on this side over here. If you wanted to go ahead and do that, it would work. Now, both of these are Mikunis. The carburetor kits are all different. They're not the same carburetor kit. Totally different. One of the biggest things I wanted to get into today with the KV is the two adjustments on it. There's really only two adjustments on this carburetor. You have your idle mixture screw, which is set to 1.5, and then you have your float adjustment, and that's what I wanted to touch base on today with that. And I also wanted to talk about not idling properly. So first things first, let's take the choke, what do you call it there, the float off, so I can show you guys the mechanism behind it. That out. Okay. It uses a much smaller needle than the KE, and now you can really see it. See how it's at an angle right there? So this carburetor right here is going to be adjusted completely different than you're used to. Okay? You're used to holding the carburetor straight up and down, so you can adjust it. This one you're actually going to hold at an angle, and I'll show you what that is. So the specifications, okay, for this carburetor float are different than the KE and the KVs, the KV100. This is the kv75 or the mt1. So we have to take this gasket off, because the gasket is, the thickness of it will change the height and the diameter of the adjustment. Alright, so according to the book, we have to take that off. So let's see if we can get that off. Oh, it came right off without breaking it. Look at that. Unlucky. You got to be very careful with these. They will break very easy. Now, the reason why you have to remove the gasket is because you're going to measure from the inside of the bank. So, when you're looking at this carburetor, you can see that there's a ridge right here. Okay? You're going to be measuring from the bottom. Now, I use a couple of different tools to measure, okay? One in which is the slide ruler right here. So when you go to measure it, you'd be putting it right on the bank, and then you could go up and down, slide it up and down to wherever you want the measurement to be, and adjust it from there. We're not going to do that, okay? I use my micrometer made by General Tools. This is the one I've used in all my videos because I love this thing. It's easy. It's nice to use. Real simple to use. Let's get right into that. It's a digital caliper vernier, and it does metric, standard, all that type of stuff. So, according to the book, okay, there is two versions of this carburetor. One engine is the MT1C, and then the other car is the MT1, the MT1A, the MT1B. Okay, so you're going to have to look on top of your engine. Alright, so that information will be right here, MT1. Okay, so we have an MT1 engine right here, so we're going to adjust it to the top one, to 20 millimeters. So let me go put this back real quick. Okay, alright. So we're going to be measuring that to the MT1. So, what we're going to do is the MT1 is set to 20 millimeters. Now, some of these are set to 23 millimeters. That's why there must be a difference in the bowl or whatever. But I'm not exactly sure that this carburetor came off this motor. Just because the bike was hacked together by a few different bikes. So we're going to see where it's at, and we're going to make a judgment call on how close it is. I think that's the way to go with that. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on. It's set to millimeters right here. And then I'm going to set it for 20 millimeters. Close enough right there. Okay, so we got 20 millimeters. I'm going to use this end right here on the bottom part of it, which is a depth gauge. And then I'm going to set my float back in. Now, while I have the float, I'm going to show you guys where you would adjust the float from. You never want to put float pressure on the pontoons. You can ruin them. See this little tab right here? That's the tab you're going to bend down. So what you're going to do, okay, to adjust this carb, I'm going to have to straighten you guys out a little bit in a minute. You're going to be looking at the wall for a second. So the first things first, you got to reassemble this. Okay, you want to check your spring on the end of the float. There's on the needle. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. There is. Let me see if I can get something to put against it. I use this. Okay, do you see the needle? That little tip that's hanging down there? That actually pushes in and out. Okay, you want to make sure you get good pressure on it, good tension. It should go back and forth nicely. You're going to set that in the carburetor first. Remember, it goes in at an angle. Then your float. Your tab faces down and goes like that. Okay? And then, of course, your pin. Okay. So now we have the pin set in there and the floats can go up and down. Now the next step. Okay? This thing's at an angle. So you're going to have to angle your carburetor, okay, to keep the proper so it's level. Okay, so right about there would be level, considered level. And then you're going to measure from the bottom part to the top part. So let's see what this one's set at. Clearly this one's not set at 20 millimeters. So let's see if it's set closer to the 23 millimeters. And then that'll tell me what motor I got on this one. Okay, we locked it in at 23 millimeters, and we're going to try it. Alright, so leveled. Normally you'd have it like this, level, but because the float is, the needle and seat are at an angle, you're going to go with the same angle, and then measure the float. Okay, so this is off. If it's 23, it's off. Look at that. So these float is clearly out of adjustment. So it is the 20 millimeter, which is the closest one, which is what I thought according to the book. So we are going to go ahead and loosen this up. Go back down to the 20. Oh, got that dead on. Look at that, huh? Right, dead on. Okay, so now we're going to go back and forth. Relax the float. And then to do our measurement. Okay, this float is too far down. There you are. It's just there. So we're going to bend that up, that tab just a wee little bit. Okay, and then recheck. Never put pressure downwards when you're bending the tab, okay? Still off. Still way off. This tab right here, the float actually has to go down more. Okay. That means I gotta bend the tab. If the floats have to go down, you have to bend the tab up. Okay. Do that. Right there, look at that. Beautiful. Flip it over and match the angle. Beautiful. Okay. Couple of things when you're doing this, okay? By adjusting the floats, you're adjusting the bowl level inside here. So it's going to be down about 4 millimeters from the top. But there's no way of telling that, no way of checking that. So, by adjusting the floats, you're doing that, okay? If you bend that tab up, it lowers the floats. If you push the tab down, it raises the floats. These are the floats, or pontoons, if you will. When there's a little spring inside that needle, do not put pressure on it and adjust it. You can hurt that. You can damage that. And make sure that your floats are nice. Your needle comes all the way out. And then it can move back in. I don't know if you can see that or not. No, not really. But it moves nice and easily. And then you can put it back up like that. Flip back over. Throw the tester on and check it. And that is good. Okay. So, this carburetor right here is adjusted to 20 millimeters. And the mt1 is adjusted to 23 millimeters. And that is measured from the base to the top of the pontoon or the float, okay, without the gasket. So this carburetor right here is properly adjusted, and it wasn't before. So we're going to put the gasket on. Be careful of these old gaskets, they are brittle. Okay. If you guys have a bike that is giving you a hard time idling, okay, it won't idle. You'll have to hold it full throttle, and then you kick the bike over, and it will run at an idle speed. That would be this jet right here being plugged. Okay, that jet right there is your pilot jet, and it should be able to see light all the way through it when it's out of the carburetor. If you guys have one that when you go to throttle up, and it gives you a hesitation and a bog, that would be this one. Now this jet right here is from idle to, like, I want to say a quarter throttle, almost into half. Okay, and then this one's from idle to a quarter, and then from there on is the main jet with that jet, and then it takes over and gives you your full throttle. So your pilot jet's more of an idle jet, and then your and that jet right there works in conjunction with this idle mixture screw. After quarter throttle, the main jet takes over, and this screw right here, it doesn't matter what the setting is, it's not being used. Okay? So that's how that all works. It's real simple. This tube right here, do you see sticking up? Well, I'd be like, what the heck's that little tube for? That little tube right there works with your choke. So when you pull the choke lever, right here like that, it changes from the air port in the front to sucking port, and it sucks the fuel up from the bowl, up into there, and then into the jet, into the jet path. Okay, so that's how all that works. Got a little bit of gunk in there. It's clean, it's got a little bit of deterioration on the bowl, unfortunately, but it is still a good carburetor. I wanted to do this video for you guys to show you guys the ins and outs on this little carburetor. It's an easy carburetor to work and understand, but if you don't know the float adjustments, the 20 millimeter or the 23, that's why I do these videos, to show you guys a little bit of carb talk. There'll be some more carburetor talks on them, but that's the basic right now I wanted to get out there, because I'm going to put this carburetor on that engine we converted over to CDI, and what do you call it there? Get that thing fired up. So, but I didn't want to put this on there with fuel in it and then take it all apart and then do, you know, that whole mess. So, I'm going to go over this one more time with you guys, because it's very important to have this. So, if you guys have a kv75 or an mt1, and it's an mt1 an MT1A or an MT1B, your float adjustment is going to be 13/16 or 20 millimeters. If you have an MT1C, your float adjustment is going to be 29/32 or 23 millimeters. Okay? That measurement is taken from the base without the gasket to the top of the float. If you have a, what do you call it there? You have to take the gasket off. It's very important. That way you get an accurate measurement. Okay? And the idle speed screw, not the speed, the idle mixture screw right here, that's 1.5. Okay? This one right here is your idle speed screw, and that's whatever you set it at, whatever you like your idle RPM at. Okay? And that pretty much concludes this this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And guys, thank you for all the comments. I'm really glad we were able to get that CDI done. And now we're going to go on to the next phase on the bike. We're going to actually start that motor up. We're going to let that motor run for a few minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and see what we can do to, what do you call it there? Go through that whole engine. I got to go through it. I got to replace a couple bearings in it, some gaskets. It's got an oil leak. The oil isn't all hooked up properly. We have a lot to do to that engine. So it went from being a parts engine to being an active engine. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And remember, if you don't have a fancy tool like this, you don't need one. You can go right down to your local hardware store, and I don't know where I put it, but I had that little ruler. What do I do with that little ruler? Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. You could pick up one of these little pocket protector rulers, and on the back it gives you a little bit of conversions and all that sort of thing. But these are very helpful. Okay, you can set your, you know it's going to be 20 millimeters, so you just set it to 20 millimeters, and then boom, there you go. Put it right on there and check your pontoons. If you get 23 millimeters, you just set it to 23 millimeters, and then boom, check it and check your pontoons. So you don't need fancy equipment, and that's what I show you guys on this channel. It's measured in millimeters and inches. This ruler does both. So I can set this thing to 29/32, which it's at right now, or I can set it to 13/16 for the other adjustment, and you can do it all from this. You don't need any type of over-the-counter mathematical genius equipment that like I use. I'm a professional mechanic, so I have these, and I use this for many, many other things. So it is a good tool to have, but if it's something you're not going to be using, why buy it? If you're only going to be using it for the one time, I wouldn't buy a fancy tool. You can spend, I think these are like $4 or $5 at the hardware store, at the parts store. You can get these at AutoZone, Advanced Auto, any of those, you know, O'Reilly's, Napa, wherever you want to go to get them. You know, Sanel's, they all have these, you know. So, and if they don't have them, chances are they have them in the warehouse. But the bottom line is, whatever you use, make sure you keep these in good shape, good condition. I actually got this at a yard sale. I saw a whole bunch of them, so I grabbed a few of them. And I think I paid $1/4 for this thing. You know. And I keep it in with that one. That way I have it. That way if my battery's dead and my spare battery's dead, because that general kit comes with a spare battery, it makes it nice. So remember, go back, pause my videos, get the adjustment. I'm sorry I'm kind of all over the place. I'm still getting used to having my tripod, so I'm trying to make sure I got it in the video. So that was a little difficult today, but we worked past it. And of course I got my ke100 carburetor right here. This carburetor here is going to go on my, what do you call it there? This carburetor is spoken for. This one is going to go on to my KD80. This is the newer 2001 carburetor. So I want to put this one on that bike and give that bike a newer carburetor. And then all my bikes will have newer carburetors. My KE, my KM, and my KD. I like to upgrade them as I can to the newer, better, later, greater stuff, because the parts will be available for it longer. But that's why I do what I do. So I don't know if you guys noticed I didn't tighten all these down. I screwed them in, but I didn't tighten them all the way down in case you have to move them back and forth a little bit. You don't have to gorilla tighten them either. Just give them a little snug and you're good to go. And that is it for that. Now, if you have one of these newer KE carburetors, the idle mixture screw is underneath that cap. You got to drill that cap out. But no need to do that today. Well, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Guys, 1,215 subscribers. Thank you guys very, very much. I can't wait. And Saturday, I'm going down to my storage unit. I got to hang out down there for the day. I got to get move some stuff around and get some stuff out. So I got some really cool videos coming up. We're going to be working on the gauge clusters coming up for my ke100. We're going to modify the lights so that they plug directly into the KE harness. Get that ready. We got the speedometer cable to make sure that that's from the Kawasaki, working on the Honda gauge cluster, which is cool. We got that coming up. Guys, it's after the new year, so guess what that means? We might actually use this carburetor or the one that's on it. We're going to start up that ke100 engine. That's coming soon. So we have a lot of stuff because I want to start on these builds. So thank you guys once again, and please subscribe. Talk to you later.